at this burger in terms of US dollar and in terms of PPP, it costs you 2, it costs you 3 here. What does that mean? Okay, so before you can understand this, you need to first understand that there are two kinds of exchange rates. There's one that's called the market exchange rate. What is the market exchange rate? It's the one you get when you go to a money changer. Okay? So when you go to a money changer in any shopping mall, you look at the board. They have an electronic board with some of the exchange rates there. That's your market exchange rate. Okay? The other one, you're probably not really a total stranger to this. PPP exchange rate. You saw this in national income under standards of living. PPP, purchasing power parity. Okay? So, you get PPP exchange rates anywhere, any money changer you go to, you are not going to see this. So why do we study this? This is a bit like a benchmark. It's like market structure. We always say your PC model is a benchmark because it achieves allocative efficiency, right? But of course, PC is only valid if you have a lot of sweeping assumptions, homogeneous products, very small firms. Likewise, this benchmark is subject to assumptions of almost a perfect world. I'll explain what are the assumptions later. Okay? So market exchange rates, I think we are not really surprised as to how they come about. But what are PPP exchange rates? So let me give you an example. If let's say you're looking at a burger, okay? I'm looking at the same burger in Singapore and US. If in Singapore, that burger costs you 2 Sing dollar. And if in US, it costs you 1 US dollar. Very simple math, okay? Then here we are saying, okay, the PPP exchange rate should be 1 US dollar is to 2 Sing dollar. Some math, but not very difficult math. I'll explain. Okay? So how do you understand this? To understand this concept, you take the last P and you try to interpret what it means. It means parity, right? Parity means on par. Some people say, oh, my math is on par with my econs. Both are equally, and you fill in the blank. Okay? So on par means the same, right? Likewise, when you say parity, that means the cost of getting that burger should be the same, whether you fly to Singapore to get it or whether you consume it in US. See? If I go to if I can change 1 US dollar for 2 Sing dollar, that burger actually costs the same, whether you buy it in Singapore or US. You can consider in terms of US dollar, this is basically 1 US dollar. Same. Correct? What if it's not the same? Okay? What if it's not the same? Suppose this is 1 US dollar is to 3 Sing dollar. Let's say. Would it be cheaper to eat a burger in Singapore or US now? If let's say the burger price is still like that, 2 Sing dollar in Singapore, 1 US dollar in US. If you're a US resident, where will you eat your burger? Singapore. Because why? You'll change it for 3 Sing dollar, you go there, you still get $1 change. Correct? But your PPP exchange rates cannot be 1:3 because it assumes a perfect world. Perfect world means no transport cost or no op cost of any sort. That means if it's cheaper to buy a burger in Singapore, every US resident who wants to eat a burger will fly to Singapore to consume it. That's what they are assuming. And when they fly to Singapore to consume, that will push up the burger price in Singapore, and that will lower the burger price in US until they are equal again, until they are on par again. Does that make sense? So PPP works on the basis that if there is any such price difference, or I should say any difference in terms of purchasing power, then you will get people from one country flying to the other country where it's cheaper. And through the changes in demand, the prices will equalize again. That's why it can't be like that. should stay like that. Follow? But in the real world, you don't have people flying to another country just to eat a burger, right? Some people fly to Hong Kong to don't know what kind of delicacies, right? That doesn't happen in the perfect world. Okay? So if I'm looking at Ppp exchange rates and market exchange rates, you know these two, they are going to be different because of transport costs, logistical arrangements, time wasted. You cannot expect the real world to be aligned with the perfect world. Okay with that? And that is a very good start, because if you know that they are different, I would say observing the difference helps you see two things. Allows you to see, number one, whether a currency is over or undervalued. It's a bit like, you compare a firm with the PC model, then you know whether this firm is overproducing or underproducing. That's the purpose of a benchmark. Okay. And it also allows you to see difference in the cost of living. The second one is a bit exaggerated. I'll tell you why later. Because you can't really tell cost of living by just looking at one burger. Ideally, it's not burgers, but a basket of goods you're looking at. Then it makes more sense to talk about cost of living. Okay. So, hypothetical example. Let's say Ppp exchange rate is 1:2. But the market exchange rate, which means if you go to a money changer, if you see the exchange rate is like that. Okay, so if you're comparing these two sets, benchmark is 1:2, market exchange rate is 1:3. Can you tell me whether the Sing dollar is overvalued or undervalued in the real world? Compared to the benchmark, is the Sing dollar undervalued or overvalued? So in terms of the benchmark, 2 Sing dollar is enough to get you $1. But in the real world, you needed 3 Sing dollar to get $1. So in the real world, Sing dollar is undervalued. The true value should be, but we don't use the word true I'm just saying the Ppp value is 2 Sing dollar, should get you $1. But now it doesn't. So Sing dollar is undervalued. So if you want to consume a burger, you will fly to Singapore to consume it. Because if you're a US resident, 1 Sing dollar gets you 3 Sing dollar. $1 US gets you 3 Sing dollar. So it's like the burger example. You probably fly to Singapore and then you still keep 1 Sing dollar after that. Does that make sense? Cost of living is lower in Singapore. You can make these two inferences. The first one is especially true. Second one, I would much prefer you're not talking about burgers, but you're talking about a common basket of goods and services. Then it makes more sense, right, to generalize and say cost of living is lower. Okay? So, any questions before I move on? If you understand this, good. Then let's look at the case study question above. Suppose I have a table, and that table tells me that the price of a burger, when converted based on market exchange rates, is $2 US. When converted based on Ppp exchange rate, is 3. What can you conclude? Now, if I just look at the final price in terms of US dollar exchange, in terms of market exchange rate and Ppp exchange rates, it may not be so intuitive. Never mind. You go one step back. Let's say I assume if the burger was 6 Sing dollar, For it to end up being a 2 US dollar, market exchange rate must be 1 US dollar is to how many Sing dollar? 3, right? 3 Sing dollar. For the PPP value to be a 3 here, it must be the case that the benchmark is 1 is to 2. So I gave it an arbitrary value. And from there, I got the two exchange rates to compare. And once you have these two exchange rates, you can already infer the difference in the cost of living and whether a currency is overvalued or undervalued. And that's what I want to explain with regard to PPP rates. Okay? So, any questions?